Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the Victorian Studio podcast. My name is Maureen and I'm coming to you from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada on Monday, May the 1st, 2017. Welcome as always to new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for spending some time with me in my studio today. Well, over the last couple of weeks, I've got a fair amount of knitting done, a little bit of other crafting that I'm going to share with you at the end of the podcast, and a little bit of spinning, but I'm going to save that for probably the next episode. There really isn't enough for me to share with you on the progress that I've done over the last few days. So, before I get to the knitting, I did want to thank everyone who's participating in the Harry Potter Knit Along over in the Victorian Studio podcast group. It's just been amazing to see so many projects and activity over there. We're well over 1,600 posts over in that group. And I want to draw for 2 prizes today, so I'll be doing that a little bit later as well. Also, over the last couple of days, I've been busy with the Harry Potter House Cup group over on Ravelry. The new term started today, the spring term, and I was thrilled to see that I was sorted once again into Gryffindor, and so I'm back with the same group of friends over there, and it's been wonderful. This term, I've also expanded my experience by doing what they call an owl, and I'll explain what that is a little bit later and show you how it impacts on my knitting. But basically it's a project that you undertake that goes between 2 and 3 months to complete, something that challenges you. So I'm really looking forward to starting on that. So suffice to say, I was up quite late last night. All of the threads in that group opened up at midnight last night Pacific time, which was 2 a.m. here. And so because I wanted to submit a proposal right at midnight, I did stay up quite late last night. Luckily, I'm on vacation today, so I was able to sleep in. And but that also did help me finish up another project I'm going to share with you as well. So I'll get to the knitting. The first project that I've been continuing to work on, is my project for the Penhook and Needles Autism Awareness Knit Along. And you've seen this before if you've been here before, and I'll be working on this probably until the end of June. I'm doing a scarf, and it really doesn't have a completion amount. It's just you do it until it's either as long as you want it, or until you get all the colors in, because I'm doing a rainbow one, until I get all the colors that I want in this scarf all knit up. So what I did was I was looking for a pattern on a scarf that would show a beautiful gradient of the rainbow yarn that I've chosen for this. And so the pattern that I chose to do is called Bubble Mania by Diana Rosensham. Here's a printout of it, but here's a better picture of it that I'll insert here. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and Diana said, it's free to use, just favorite the pattern on Ravelry is all she asks. So of course I did that, and it's great. It's just a 6-row repeat, a lace pattern, but every second row is just a straight purl row. So it's basically just 3 lines that you have to remember to do. And so yeah, very easy to do, potato chip knitting. So the yarn that I wanted to use, as I've done in previous autism awareness knit-alongs, is a rainbow gradient. And this is by Ade Long from Estonia. It's not the softest, but I really do love the very gradual gradients that it goes throughout the whole rainbow color scheme. So I'm just going to knit until it's either long enough or through enough colors of the rainbow. So I believe last time I showed this project, I was just getting from the orange and going into the yellow. So over the last little while I was able to do the yellow. So I started with purple, went into the reds, oranges, yellows, and now it's gradually going into the green color. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that is coming out so far. It's a very light lace pattern, so yeah, I'm looking forward to wearing this, in the fall time. Would be really nice. And I had a message on the Victorian Studio podcast group of kind of holders I use, and these are just some that I've sewn up myself. They are double pointed needle holders, DPN holders, that I've sewn up myself, but I don't use them for DPNs. I've never used DPNs. When I first started knitting just a few years ago, I started with circulars that were wooden until I broke my first pair. And then I moved over to the carbons needles. And so I have 2 sets of interchangeables in the carbons, and I just keep them in one package together, so I always have plenty for whatever projects I'm undertaking. I also have 2 fixed circulars for my sock knitting, but I always use these DPN holders to keep them secure when I'm working on a project. And so I told this person who was asking how I use them, I would demonstrate on the next episode. So these DPN holders are really easy to sew up. I purchased, before I learned how to sew them, I had purchased a few from a few different vendors, including quite a few from Danny from Little Bobbins Knits, and they were just beautiful. They're a little bigger than these ones, but I wanted to make some that matched my Harry Potter bags when I was sewing those up. So what I did was I searched on YouTube and found a really easy tutorial, and I'll link it in the description box below. So if you're interested in making yourself some, basically all you need is just some scrap material. If you want interfacing or padding in them, you can add that as well. And then just these snaps, and I got these just at Fabricland, I believe. So you just need the snaps and the little tool that kind of secures them into your fabric. Really easy to use though, and they come in different colors. So basically what I do is I always have my needles slid into these, and I'll just bend them down until they're below that first snap. So I just tuck them in here. This is actually a smaller one. I have a few that are a little bit longer than this, but this way the first snap can hold those in. And then I usually have an end, especially when I do socks and that kind of thing, that I just take the other end and loop it around and insert that in the DPN holder on the other side through that second button, and it keeps it in there, protects the needles when they're in the project bag, and yeah, keeps them from slipping off while in transit. So yeah, I keep all of my circular needles on DPN holders, so they work just great. And yeah, you don't need to be using just DPNs for them. So that Bubble Mania scarf will be continued to work on. The lovely ladies over at Pinhook and Needles. Thank you so much, Marlisha and Talia, for always giving my podcast such kind shout outs. I really do appreciate it. That knit along started April the 1st and I believe goes until June 30th. So if you're interested in doing a bright project that you want to enter for some great prizes over there, be sure to head over there. I will, of course, link their podcast in the description box below. And they accept weekly works in progress as entries for prizes as well as finished objects. So I have to enter this in again. I haven't done that for a couple of weeks, so I'll have to update my my entries there. So yeah, that's a project that's continuing to be worked on and will be worked on for some time yet. So I hope you don't mind seeing that every episode for the next little while. What I did get completed though were two projects, and they're both socks. The first ones you've seen before. They are my Snape's Stockings project. And this is a pattern by Erica Lueder of the Hermione's Everyday Socks fame. And this is a copy of the pattern. I'll also put a color picture up here for you. So Erica's company is Dreams in Fiber, so she does both patterns and wonderful yarns. And for the Snape's Stockings, they're similar to the Hermione's Everyday Socks, where you do the fabric, the texture pattern around the leg and on the top of the foot, and then at the bottom, just stockinette rounded toe. I always do the German short row heel, the instructions I got from Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. I really love doing those. 2x2 rib and just Kitchenered the toe. So because I have two pairs of socks to show you that are finished today, I only have one of each of the pairs on a blocker to show you better. So that's the Snape's Stockings. And in Erica's pattern, she used the exact same yarn that I have here, and that is from lovely Danny at Sunshine Yarns. So this is what I have left. Danny so graciously sent me this, and this is in her Snape colorway of her classic sock base, which is 100% superwash merino. I don't believe she has this colorway anymore, but it was wonderful. I'd highly recommend heading over to Sunshine Yarns. Again, I will link her shop in the description box below. So thank you very much, Danny, and thank you, Erica, for a wonderful pattern. So that was my first set of socks that I completed over the last little while. I also was able to both start and finish another pair of socks just in the last couple of weeks. Actually, I started these socks on April 23rd and was able to finish them in 9 days. I think that's a record for me to get a pair of socks completed. So these I was trying to get also completed to get some points in the Harry Potter House Cup group as well. So what I did was I got out some yarn you've seen before if you've been here before, when I was collecting a bunch of the different colorways, different yarns, when the Harry Potter Cal began in our group. So this is Nomadic Yarns, and it's in their Harry colorway. Let's see if I can find here's the tag for Nomadic Yarns. And this is a beautiful colorway. So rich, jewel-toned colors, and it's called Harry. She doesn't mention what the inspiration for the different colors are in this, but they are beautiful. And what I did was, when I made up the skein, because I do all of my socks 2 at a time concurrently, I made sure when I made these into center pull balls that I started those at exactly the same point in her self-striping colorway, so that I could have some matching socks. So that's what I have left over. I have to skein those up again because, as I said, I finished those this morning. Before I show you, I also wanted to do contrasting heel and toe, but I didn't have any solid color yarns that were exactly the same colors as in the Harry colorway. So what I did was, if you've been here before, you had seen that I had dyed up some Lion brand sock ease yarn for a Christmas project that I did, those little miniature mitten ornaments. I had a ball of this white sock ease yarn and split it up into 4 and did these 3 colors and left one just the natural white color. So I took that out of this bundle and decided to dye it up in black. And I had some dyes already, because I have done my own dyeing from Landscapes wools, and this is the Currawong. It's nice true black, really easy to use. So I just popped that partial skein into some acid dye, and I was able to make enough so that I could do my own heels and toes. So I was quite pleased on how that turned out. Now these are just vanilla socks, and I think the reason why it took no time at all to do these is because with the self-striping yarns, it is so quick. You don't have to count any rows or really pay attention to measuring how long the leg and the foot are. You can just, if you've matched up the colorways in the beginning, what I do is I just go to a certain point in the stripes, and then I do the same on the second. So it went along, like I say, so quickly. So here's the finished one, and the one that isn't on the sock blocker, just to show you, yes, they are a pair, and they are perfectly matching. So I'm very pleased with that. So I'll just show you on this one. Again, 2x2 rib. I don't do my socks very tall anymore. I found that my tall socks I just roll down anyway, and what's nice is by doing them a little bit shorter, they're comfortable, but I have lots of yarn left over so I can do something else with it. So I went down to the heel, did the German short row heel again, then did the foot, and because I do them concurrently, I'll do cuffs and cuffs, legs, then the other leg, the heel, and then the second heel, foot, second foot, toe, and then Kitchener each, one after the other. So what I did last night is when I was waiting for the threads to open up in the Harry Potter House Cup group, because it was 2 a.m. our time, and because I have a vacation day today, I decided that I was getting so close to the end of these that I spent a few hours just finishing up these socks, except for Kitchenering them closed, because in the Harry Potter group there's a detention class that you can put works in progress, and if you just finish them up during the current month, you get points for your house. So what I did was I entered these in, just finished them up except for the Kitchenering and weaving in the ends. Did that this morning and posted, and then got points for Gryffindor for doing that. So yeah, it was great to have. That's one of the great things about being a part of a group like that. It really motivates you to get projects both started and completed. So I really love these socks. I mean, the jewel tones in this yarn is incredible. I really, really love that. And now, because I'm a true sock knitter, I have to cast on some new socks again. So I'm going to go through my stash and see which ones which yarn I'm going to pull out next for my next pair of socks. So that was pair number 2 that I got completed over the last little while. So as I mentioned earlier, my next project that I wanted to share with you is something that I haven't started knitting yet because it was just approved this morning. So because I was getting ready to podcast, I really didn't have time to get it on the needles yet, but I can hardly wait to start that this evening. And that is what is called my Owl project. Now, in the Harry Potter House Cup group, there are classes that you do every month. So you do projects that you can know that you'll complete between the first and the end of each month. Then you submit them to the classes for points and awards and that kind of thing. But an Owl is a project that both challenges you and also should take you between 2 and 3 months to complete. And if you do complete it, you get a lot of points for your house. So not only is it fun to do and it motivates you to do larger projects, it's great to be able to participate in the group and get more points for all your fellow housemates. So the Owl project that I wanted to do was a sweater, and I'll show you a little bit later in the podcast. The first idea I had for a sweater didn't quite pan out. So I went with my plan B. On Saturday, I went over to my local yarn shop, Wolseley Wool, and at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you some video and photos from Wolseley Wool. They've got all kinds of new inventory in, and I hadn't been in there for a while, so it was very kind of them to allow me to take some photos and videos of the store while I was there, so I'll pop that into the end of the episode. But while I was there, I wanted to get something in a sweater quantity, so I looked around and found some beautiful Malabrigo Machita, and so I got 4 skeins of that, and also had in my stash already some Madeline Tosh. So between those 5 skeins, I had enough to do a lightweight cardigan. So both of the yarns, because they are a fingering weight, that's my challenge that I set for myself in my owl, was to do a fingering weight cardigan or sweater. So I've never done one in a lightweight yarn before. My Roosevelt cardigan was Aran weight. My Weasley sweater, which I am which I put on today, was worsted weight. And my vest and my jacket that I did, my Cowichan sweater, I believe those were both in bulky weight. So my first challenge was to do a fingering weight cardigan in the 3 months, and hopefully I can get that done. It's also, the pattern that I chose is a top-down pattern, so that will be a first for me as well as knitting it in the round. So I'm really looking forward to meeting those challenges and hopefully getting that completed by July 31st. So as I mentioned, I haven't cast on yet, but I thought I would share with you everything that I prepared so far. So when you do an owl over at the Harry Potter House Cup group, you have to put together a proposal first, and then you submit it to the professors, and they will guide you into if they feel that this is an appropriate project that will challenge you, that you are able to get it done without too much stress, and they'll approve your project. And once your project is approved, then you can put it on the needles. So there's always a big rush at midnight, the night before the new month starts, the new term starts, to get your owl submissions in, because there's so many people doing it. The sooner you get it in, the sooner you get it approved, hopefully, the sooner you can get it on the needles and you have more time to knit it up. So it was really funny last night. I was working on those Harry Potter socks and waiting for midnight Pacific time, which was 2 a.m. our time. And right at 2 a.m. I submitted my proposal. What you do is you write up what you're going to do. You add pictures of your yarn, your supplies. You add the pattern with links. So it is a fairly long proposal that you write up. And so I had that all, copied, pasted into it right at like 2 a.m. And I was already post number 43 of the thread. There are hundreds of proposals that go in right away. So the sooner you can get it in, the better. So there's always this mad rush. But it's a lot of fun. It's scary, it's exciting, but a lot of fun. So this is my first owl that I'm attempting. I'm trying to branch out and do more this term than I did last term. Last term was my first term, and I was really just feeling my way around. So I would do my minimum classes. I also did some extracurricular activities called Marauders Missions. But this term I want to do a lot more and participate more and get more points for Gryffindor House. So as I said, we had to do a swatch to prove that we were able to meet the pattern swatch gauge, and so I also did that. So I did cake up 1 skein of yarn, but I'll show you the 2 yarns that I did choose, and I think this will look really pretty in this 2-color cardigan. The name of the cardigan, now I have it here somewhere, is called the Thyon. I think that's how you pronounce it, Thyone, by Tori Gerbitz. Here, I haven't printed it out yet, so here's a picture from the pattern page. It's a beautiful cardigan that buttons up the front. It's got a different color on the shoulders with a couple of stripes at the top, a couple at the bottom, again the contrast color at the bottom and on the ends of the sleeve, on the cuffs of the sleeves. So as I said, when I was at Wolseley Wool, I was able to find 4 skeins of this beautiful Machida in the colorway 888 Serenus. And this is 100% merino superwash, 420 yards. So yeah, I really love that that colorway. So I was lucky I found 4 of those. And the contrast color, as I said, is this Madeline Tosh, and this is the Tosh Merino Light. So I think that's a good match for the contrast color. And the Tosh Merino Light is 100% superwash merino wool as well. So yeah, 420 yards. So I'll have plenty to do the cardigan. I also have the buttons chosen for that project as well. And as I mentioned, I caked up the first skein of the yarn so that I could do a swatch. So I had to put in a picture of my swatch with a swatch gauge showing exactly the stitches and row count. And I was able to achieve the pattern gauge by going down 1 size of needle. So I'll be using US size 4s and 5s for this. So I really love the fabric that I was able to get with that swatch. So yeah, it was really a lot of fun to get the proposal written up, and I was helped by other Gryffindor members to do it in the proper format and get all the information in there that I needed. And I was thrilled that this morning my project was approved, so I can't wait to cast that on this evening. So I'll be working on that until I have until July 31st to get all the points. There is a 50% point mark where if you get to that in the amount of time that you set in your project plan, you get partial points for. So even if you don't finish the project, at least you get some partial points. So it doesn't cost you anything to propose an owl, and it costs you, or it benefits you a lot to either get it partially done or completed to get as many points for your house as possible. So it's so much fun to do that. So I'm looking forward to doing not only that, but of course my classes. They posted those threads up this morning as well. So next episode I'll show you some of the projects that I'm working on for the different classes. And as I said, it's such a great opportunity to really get ideas for new projects, to complete old projects. Really good motivator to use in my knitting. So I'm really enjoying my time over at the Harry Potter House Cup. And you don't have to do Harry Potter themed projects, of course. You know, people do all kinds of things. So even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, it's a lot of fun. So, speaking of Harry Potter, though, our current knit along in the Victorian Studio podcast group, of course, is the year-long Harry Potter knit along. And I've been having such a great time seeing all the projects and chatter over on the thread over on Ravelry. Thank you so much, Vani, for being an awesome moderator and keeping up with all the posts. Sadly, I have not been able to do the same. I've been trying to get as much projects done to show you, to share with you every episode, that I have to get back to that and get caught up with all of the posts over there. But thank you everyone for all your participation. And what I thought I would do this episode to thank you is to draw for 2 prizes. So the first one will be for a prize for a $10 giftable Ravelry pattern. And so what I did earlier today is I went over to random.org and I popped in the numbers 2 to 1,664. And the first winner is Woolly Manda Knits. That's Mandarin, and it was post number 1529. Congratulations, you won the Ravelry pattern. So please PM me on Ravelry and let me know what pattern you would like for $10 US or less, and I will make sure I gift that to you. So the second prize that I wanted to award this week is a chocolate frog progress keeper that I created. And the winner of that is post number 990, Mira Kira, that's Sylvie. And yeah, congratulations. Send me your mailing address and I'll get that chocolate frog progress keeper out to you. So congratulations to both of you. I believe both of you are in France. So that was really, really funny to see that both winners that random.org chose today were from France. So congrats, and thank you everyone. I'll be doing more draws throughout the CAL, of course. At the end of June, we'll be doing another drawing for all the larger items, the bags and that kind of thing. And thank you everyone who has let me know on Ravelry when you receive your prizes in the mail that they've arrived safe and sound. I really do appreciate it. It's good to know that you've received them and that you're enjoying your prizes. So thank you so much. So speaking of progress keepers, I wanted to do some more sculpting over the last few days, and I thought I would do some kind of creature this time, sculpted out of polymer clay, that I could do some small progress keepers or stitch markers. Because also over in the Harry Potter House Cup group, I've offered to supply some prizes for our Gryffindor housemates as well. We have a few competitions going on over there. So I thought I would make a few more different markers. And so what I thought I would do is a little small sculpture of an owl. I thought that would make a good stitch marker or progress keeper. So what I did was, as I've done previously, I made a master, created a mold so that I could mass produce a few of them. So hopefully not only at the Harry Potter group over on the House Cup, I'll also give a few of these away if people like them over in our group as well. So I'll just get out my supplies here and show you again how I made these. So what I do is I start out by using Sculpey. I know there's a lot of different polymer clays out there. There is Fimo, Primo. Also there's a company called Cernit. I believe that's over in Europe. But I've used just the Sculpey clay, and I've had quite a bit of Sculpey clay in my studio here because I used to do quite a bit of sculptures when I was doing some Star Wars art as well, both action figures and sculpting creatures and that kind of thing. So I had a fair amount of it. So when I started doing my miniatures and items for knitting, you know, I had a good supply of Sculpey, and it doesn't dry out because it's polymer clay. But you do keep it covered up so that it doesn't get dirty or dusty. So I just thought I would show that. So what I did was I took that Sculpey and made a little sculpture of a little baby owl. So it's a little pudgy guy. Hope you can see that. I will also put photos in at the end of the episode showing this a little bit better. So yeah, as I said, I just sculpted this little guy. Baked him in our toaster oven. You just bake this at a low temperature, 275, for about 20 minutes or so. And once he's cooled, then I popped him into some easy mold, as I've shown before. It's just a 2-part silicone putty that you use equal amounts that you knead together. You have a few minutes then to press your item into it, and after about 25 minutes, it cures and you pop your item back out, and then you have a mold to make duplicates. My first intention though was to make duplicates in more Sculpey and then just bake those, as I've done with the chocolate frogs. But because it's a fairly deep mold this time and a little more complex, I had to slice the mold in 2 areas just to get the master out of there. And so when I tried to remold in Sculpey, the clay was too soft. When I was trying to demold it, it was getting distorted. And so I had 2 options. I could either totally cut this mold in half and do 2 part molds that I would then attach together, glue together, or just keep it like this and try doing the molds in or the new owls in epoxy. So I thought that's what I would try this time. So what I did was I just made up this 2-part amazing clear cast epoxy. Use very little of it at a time, and poured it in. And you have to let this cure though for about 24 hours. So I can only do one at a time. So I pulled the first one out that was clear, and that was great because I thought, okay, I'm just going to paint it anyway. But then I remembered I had some alcohol inks, and if you've seen in previous episodes where I've created the jigsaw puzzle pieces, for example, I colored the epoxy using alcohol inks. Well, this is similar to the alcohol inks, but because it's opaque, it's called a mixative, and so it's not clear, it's opaque white. And I thought, well, if I add this to the epoxy, then I don't have to paint the whole owl white. I can just do the highlights with the black paint, the eyes with some yellow, and then I'll be good to go. So that's what I tried for the next couple of owls. But I wasn't thrilled with the results because it does come out as not a pure white, unfortunately. But I did do a couple of guys that way. This is then the 2-part epoxy with that mixative in it. And after unmolding them, it's still soft enough that I can put those little eye screws in so that I can add jewelry findings to them later. They came out okay, but not as white as I wanted. So what I did was, with the first one I did in just clear, I decided to do a test of just painting it up using acrylic paints. And so that's what I did, and I still have yet to seal this though. But this is more of what I wanted to do for the progress keepers or stitch markers, is to have a snowy owl in pure white. And then all I did was use more acrylic paint to paint on the details. So as you can see, that's a better color than the kind of off-white that adding that mixative in with the epoxy first gave me. So I'll continue to, I think, make them just clear, paint them up, and then seal them with Varathane. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to making up a few more of those and making stitch markers or progress keepers out of those. So that was a lot of fun. I want to be able to create a variety of different either characters or creatures or whatever that can be related to Harry Potter, but also doesn't. If you're an owl lover, then maybe you'll like a stitch marker like that. So so I'll make a few more of those up to increase my supply so that I can provide them as prizes both in my own cal and over at the House Cup. So I think that's all the crafting I have to share with you. One of the other things that happened just before I started recording, my doorbell rang and a package that I had ordered from Knit Picks arrived today. Now, this was an order that I had planned to use for my owl when I ordered a few weeks ago, but unfortunately it didn't come in time for me to do all of the preparations like the swatching and getting it all put together in time for last night's opening up the threads. So that's why I went with Plan B and the blue and the gray fingering weight yarn that I was going to do. So what I'm going to do is just save this for my next owl project, which will be hopefully in 3 months' time, because this is a heavier weight yarn. And I had already purchased a pattern that I wanted to do for one of the owls. The prompt is to do something with cables. So I wanted to do this Miranda hoodie pattern. Here's a picture of it in color. This is by Jose Paquin, and it's a short sleeve, but it does have a long sleeve option, so I would do the long sleeves. But as I mentioned, it's a hoodie, so it has a hood in the back and also a nice cable motif running down the front that ends in a pouch in the front. So I'm really looking forward to knitting myself up a hoodie. So what I did was, when I went to the Knit Picks website, I found some more wool of the Andes and got it in this heathered, let's see, it's the marble heather colorway. So I got quite a few of those today, and enough to do that sweater. This is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, 110 yards, it's a worsted weight, and 50 grams. So I got like 15 balls of this today, so I have plenty. So I'm going to hang on to this and save it for the next time that I do the heavier sweater, which will be perfect because hopefully I'll finish that just in time for fall. So that will be good, and it'll be nice doing this lighter cardigan that I can wear on cool nights, you know, in the spring and summer. So not only did I pick up that from Knit Picks, when I was looking for a pattern to do a cabled sweater, I was looking through Ravelry and found a really beautiful pattern by a designer called Elsbeth Lavold. And the one that I really wanted to purchase is unfortunately out of print. She did a whole series of booklets on Viking patterns that have these beautiful intricate cable work on them. So it was really hard to find booklet number 18, the one that I really wanted to get. But when I was on Knit Picks, I happened to notice that they had a 40% off sale on all their books, and they had 2 of her books on sale. So I took the opportunity to pick a couple of these up. And because I just received them, I won't do any kind of review on them yet. But maybe in a few weeks, once I get a chance to look through them and, you know, pick out some favorite patterns on a quick perusal. I already saw a few things that I really love. I'll show you in more detail these books, but I thought I would mention it today anyway. So I got 2 of them. One is called Viking Patterns for Knitting, and it's a soft cover book. And the second one that I purchased was Viking Knits and Ancient Ornaments, and this is a hardcover book. So they were really reasonably priced over on Knit Picks on sale. But I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't find that booklet number 18 that I really wanted the one pattern from. So I got these because I thought, well, if I didn't ever find that one, at least I had some others that I'm sure would be great. But I kept looking on the internet and finally found it on Amazon, and so I have ordered that booklet that I've been looking for. So I'll wait until that comes in and review all 3 books at the same time by the same author. So I can't remember the name of the sweater pattern that first led me to searching out these books, but when I discuss them, I'll be sure to point that out to you. They're beautiful. Her patterns are based on ancient Viking runes and designs. So she takes those designs and incorporates them into her cable work in these knitting patterns. So they're just beautiful, and I can't really wait to create something from those books. So I think that's all I have to share with you today. I will be recording again in about 2 weeks' time. I don't know the exact date though, because that falls on a weekend that's going to be very busy, I know. So I will post in the Ravelry thread if it's going to be delayed very much. But in about 2 weeks' time, I'll be returning hopefully with some more to share with you. And I hope you'll come back to see what I've been up to. I hope you've enjoyed seeing what I've done over the last few weeks. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know there's lots of knitting podcasts out there, and I really do appreciate you coming by and spending some time with me in my Victorian studio. So until I record next, thank you so much. Have a wonderful couple of weeks. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.